Hey everybody, thank you for being here online tonight and in person. Huge shout outs to the people there in Haslam College of Business right now watching the presentation live. But we have some really great presenters tonight from PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, and I'm going to hand the presentation over to them, going straight to their slides. Let's do this.
Okay, awesome. Hey guys, thanks for coming, all of you guys in person. We're glad that you're here. Oh, you're laughing at me. And of course, everyone online too. We're super pumped to be here. We've done this for the past couple of years with Brian, and we think it's a lot of fun and get to come to talk to you guys and share a little bit more about how analytics intertwines with what we all do. So to kick it off, we'll do some intros. Hi, I'm Maggie. So I actually graduated from Tennessee in 2018 as a business analytics major. I had Brian as one of my professors while I was here. And I went and started working for PepsiCo in their Frito-Lay office right after school. And right now I'm working on the Lay's brand. So do you guys like Lay's potato chips? Good. Okay, cool. So I'd love to hear. So yeah, it's a little about me. I'll kick over to Nida to share about her.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nida. So I did not go to undergrad at University of Tennessee, but I went to do my MBA. So I graduated and very luckily got to help recruit Maggie and Katie to have a little Tennessee family. I have worked at Frito now for 5 years, so I've gotten to do like multiple different kinds of roles. Like we do rotational, so done everything from consumer insights to portfolio marketing. I'm currently on innovation, so I do innovation for Doritos, Cheetos, Ruffles, Fritos, Funyuns. So we'll do you'll see a ton of really great products coming out at the end of this year, and then Super Bowl, we do all the Super Bowl innovation as well. And then I just recently took a new role, so I will be director of Tostitos in a few weeks.
Okay.
Awesome. And hi, guys. I'm Katie. I graduated in 2021. So actually my first time back on campus since graduating, which is crazy. But I work on the Popcorners brand team. So my role is really centered around market activity and activations and kind of execution. So, oh yeah, the flipper thing is over there. Awesome. So just before we dive into marketing and kind of the analytics aspect, I want to give you guys a super high level kind of overview of PepsiCo. So obviously everyone knows the PepsiCo name, but we really do have a breadth of products within our portfolio. So the global beverages side, which sits in New York, and then the global food side in the Frito-Lay snacks, which is who we are, sit in Dallas. So PepsiCo products are enjoyed by more than 1 billion people every single day. And our performance really boiled down to like $64 billion in 2018. So really just doing a ton of revenue, a ton of sales. And we really do have a global footprint. So we show up in more than 200 countries over our portfolio of products. So super exciting. Okay. And so is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when we think about marketing, it really is more than just Super Bowl ads, which we definitely do, but it really is innovating globally and making our consumers the center of every single thing that we do. All right, and I kind of touched on this before, but we do have a ton of billion-dollar brands with 22 of them. 6 of them sit in Dallas. So a lot of the ones on here, so Fritos, Lay's, Tostitos, Cheetos. So a lot of the ones that we work on and really embedding ourselves in culture and building a ton of iconic brands. So with that, I'll hand it over.
Awesome. Yeah. And so one other thing is just on our performance with purpose. So this is just kind of hitting on some of our strategic initiatives that we have to kind of hit these goals by 2025. So you'll see some highlighted here, more focused on the planet. So striving to reduce our water impact or greenhouse gases, or practicing better farming practices as we're growing our potatoes for our Lays. From a product standpoint, we're not only making sure that we're going to comply with the government, but we also have our own rules of like, hey, let's make sure that we're not only FDA approved, but we're at our Frito-Lay standard as well. So we're reducing sodium, we're reducing fats, we're providing new positive nutrition options. And then from a people standpoint, we are making sure that our vendors are diverse and that we're spurring prosperity in different communities as well. So first, what is marketing? So you guys may think that marketing is making Super Bowl ads, which is definitely part of it, or picking a color on a bag, but it's definitely so much more than that, and there's so much more behind what it can meets the eye of a consumer that's happening behind the scenes. So as we think about Frito-Lay and what Frito-Lay means, really marketing is at the center of it. So like I was kind of saying, marketing is so much more than just putting ads out there or designing packaging. We're really the middle of the business. The performance of the business falls on our shoulders. And so we're working with all these different cross-functional teams ranging from supply chain to finance, e-commerce, to our different agencies to make sure that we're being strategic and really growing our brand. So as we think about analytics is really at the center of everything that we do. It's the foundation building blocks. We don't make decisions unless we have the data behind it to help us support it. So you can kind of see all these different avenues of marketing that we have within Frito-Lay here. So I'll highlight a couple. So customer is focusing on really our shopper versus our consumer. So we're working really closely with our retailers like a Walmart or a Kroger to make sure that we're adhering to those shopper needs and desires. We have innovation, which NITA is on innovation, but essentially it's making sure, hey, let's make sure we have a pipeline in place to continue to grow our brands and to meet new and evolving consumer needs. And so as we think about how we go out and we serve these roles, we're constantly going through data, we're doing consumer testing. We have a whole consumer insights team that helps us run different testing around it to make sure that what we're putting out in the world is truly going to resonate with our consumers. And so really analytics enables all of our business priorities. So we can see these different avenues of really the fuel behind our business. And we'll kind of dive into each of these and how analytics plays more of a key role. So the first one is brand building. So when you think of brand building, think about, I'm sure you guys all, when you think of Doritos, you're thinking about, okay, they're bold, they're intense. You think of the triangle, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm just a little biased because I see it every day, but it's a brand that resonates with you guys. You see in the Super Bowl year after year. And so they're really building their brand and building more than just a product. They're building a brand that consumers truly love. And so as we think about, hey, when we're making that Super Bowl commercial, we're not just making an ad and putting it out there. We are going through months and months and months of testing and understanding the business to be able to put it out there. And so this is one of the avenues that we use analytics in from a brand building perspective. We first take qualitative data. So we would talk to, like a group like you guys here today, show you guys the ad, ask you some questions, get your thoughts on it, and understand, okay, we understand what they're resonating with or what they're not. And then we're able to match that with quantitative data. So that's when we look at this on a larger scale to truly understand how is this going to resonate more in a broad perspective. And is it a flop? Is it not? Does it hit a certain benchmark? Does it not? To help us continue to move forward from that perspective. The next is innovation. So the crazy thing about innovation, and you can ask Nina, she's working in a world right now where she thinks it's like 2025 because that's when her innovation would actually go out and reach the shelves. And so you think about this, they're trying to really predict the future of like, hey, what do consumers want? What are the flavors that are emerging? What flavors are declining? What are the categories? Should we expand beyond the chip aisle? Should we go into frozen foods, or should we partner with cereal? What are those categories that are growing? How could we enter different channels as we think about e-commerce is really on the rise, and things like DoorDash and Uber Eats are becoming more and more common. So how do we make sure our products are at the center there, and we're continuing to innovate for channels? And then lastly, forms. So Lay's, we have a ton of different forms. We were just joking about it today, but we have pop forms, we have layers, we have things that look more like a Pringle than like a regular potato chip. And so there's all these different avenues of where you can innovate. And so it's all about using those foresights and emerging trends to put forth what consumers are really looking for. And then execution. So when we actually go out and we put things in the market, analytics is still pumping through it. So we actually leverage machine learning clustering to inform how and where we reach the most relevant consumers. So we're able to basically, we have this huge database. You just think about it as a massive Excel doc where you have like a row for every household and a column with all these different attributes ranging from what their demographics are, where they shop, what they're interested in, what they're buying. So we have all this information and we essentially cluster those households out based on the key consumer growth targets we're trying to go after. So for example, Cheetos came out with Cheetos popcorn a little while ago. And so with that, they were wanting to make sure they were expanding into people looking for popcorn. And so we were able to basically go in and say, hey, here's all the people that are looking like popcorn, divide them into these 3 different groups. That then allows us to personalize our ads a little bit more and make sure we're intersecting consumers where we actually can find them in terms of in the store, but also online. And then the last is productivity. So marketing is all fun and games until you have to actually measure it and make sure it's working and putting the business forward. And so it's super important that we're taking the time to really understand in real time, hey, how should we make adjustments? How should we change things? But then also at the end of a campaign to recap and analyze all the performance drivers and how we made that impact on our business. So this is just an example where we leverage our real-time data from our media spend. So we're collecting things like clicks and views and impressions and reach and all these various factors we're able to get this data on. And so that allows us to move our money around. So if we have more money in, let's say, this ad over here with this lady in it, but this other ad is performing better, then because of that real-time data that we're able to analyze, we can shift our funding into that other ad to make the business more profitable. And then lastly, driving cash returns. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the last one I talked about, but ultimately at the end of the day, we want to be able to make sure that we are driving sales. And so we leverage a marketing mix model that's into all these different considerations from our media spend and what's happening in store to different promotions going on, so like what the weather is or what our competition is doing, to be able to help us understand the actual impacts that our marketing is having on the business. And so this is a really cool model that we have. It's able to basically help us distinguish and break down all those different factors that are coming into play. And with that, I'll kick it over to Nida.
Oh, we're gonna do a case study. Okay. I'm gonna serve as I was trying to text the lady. Brian, let me know if you can hear me or if you can't hear me.
I can hear you great, Nida. I'm just making sure I'm not going to talk too loud, but no, Nida, you're fine. I can hear you great. I'm excited for the case study.
Awesome. Okay, so Maggie said we have Lay's. It's a massive brand. The stat we always like to use that there's more houses that have Frito-Lay products and toilet paper in the United States, which is crazy. So it's huge. So I'll take you through a case study. It's an innovation case study of how we think about innovation and how we kind of like think about building innovation. Like I love when people will always present like, yeah, this amazing idea. I'm like, yeah, let's hear it. But we try to think of it a little bit differently than just the first idea that comes to us, which, the rule is best idea always wins. But I wanted to walk you through how we think about it. Thanks, Maggie, for driving. So like we said, that Lay's is just a massive brand. It's iconic, and a lot of it's because of flavor. You guys probably have seen, like, I think when I was, oh my God, I'm dating myself, younger, they would have like biscuits and gravy, or they'd have tikka masala. Like they would used to make these like wild flavors. Like it's what the brand's kind of like known and rooted for, because while everybody loves like a yellow bag Lay's, that's what we call like a regular salted potato chips, like the flavors can be really fun. So you'll see that they've like really grounded themselves in that. It's something that they continue to stand for today. So to Maggie's point, the world, I'm gonna always look over at you, and then I'm gonna remember to look at you guys. The snacking world is evolving. So Maggie talked about, maybe she didn't, but demographics are changing. Sorry, you did. I'm messing up.
Maybe you did.
I'm messing up presentations.
It's okay.
So there's changing demographics, but it's also like global. Like, so think about globalization, like you are more connected than you have been ever. You can understand and learn about things in such a different way. Like, if you're never a person who's eaten, like, I'm making this up, but like Korean barbecue, like, you've probably seen it on TikTok. You've probably heard about it. You know a person who's Korean. And so the world of like what food looks like now is so different than what it was before. I grew up, like, nobody literally knew what Indian food was. Now, like, I love when people are like, oh my God, it's my favorite food. I'm like, you live in the Midwest in like Indiana. Like, how do you know what Indian? But it's amazing because the world has just changed, and it's been awesome to watch how food culture has changed because of that. You go to the next slide, Mary. It's also a huge piece of like how Lay's has to evolve, right? Because it's a brand that is rooted in food. And so what was happening, even though we were the #1 chip brand, like we literally own, like, we ever walk down like the chip aisle, right? We call it the salty gondola. That's like our word. 60% of it is Lay's. Like, it's wild. Like, have you ever seen the number of bags of food? Like, if you ever get a chance, like, take a second, take a beat to walk through. Most people, when you walk into the chip aisle, we know this because we do so much research. You guys spend probably like 3 seconds in there because you're like, I'm going to the red bag, I'm going to the blue bag. I know exactly what I'm getting. There's so many different ways. But what was happening a few years ago is growth was flat. Like, we literally were not selling enough units, and like, Lay's is the name on the building. We have to grow, right, as a business. You also saw there was a ton of sourcing that was happening. So if you're not buying meat, who are you buying? So we saw, like, we're able to understand from a data perspective. I'm able to pull like baskets. So I'm able to see, like, hey, is Lay's in your basket? Who else is in your basket? Okay, you're not picking me up. Where are you trading out your share of wallet to go after? And what we realized is that popcorn was actually driving category growth. Like, there was this huge surge of popcorn that was happening because they were trying to skinny pop, like, came into the market, and it was like, it went gangbusters. Like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the claim. I don't know if it actually tasted good. We don't own the product, obviously. But it was like a massive share moment for Frito-Lay. And when you're the category leader, like, what happens is customers will be like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you not driving growth? So this is kind of where Lay's was. So we were in a really hard spot. We were #1. We're not seeing that happen anymore. We're seeing a competitive entrance in a space we don't play in. Like, potato chips and popcorn are not the same thing. So you really have to take, so what Maggie was saying is, like, there was a business problem that was happening, but there was also a shifting, like a macro factor of shifting consumer preference that was happening. So like I said, so if you think about it very strategically, like, there's a brand, right? Like I said, there's a business problem to solve. So we're seeing that decline in growth. For marketing, it's like, hey, we knew these consumers because we can get really granular with our data. We're able to pinpoint who are those consumers that we're losing to popcorn. And whenever we talk to those consumers, we really found out, like, they're just really not fit. Which sounds crazy, but, you know, there's sometimes, like, I used to work on a business where people would be like, Fritos are for old people. I was like, are Fritos for old people? I love Fritos. But when I look at the data, the #1 person who buys a Frito is probably your grandmother. It's boomers. And so we can literally are able to, like, that's what's so great. Like, it's art and science. We get to talk to our consumers, but we can put data behind it to really make sure we're solving for the right consumer. You're the next slide. Thank you. So, and like I was saying, Lay's knows a ton. So everything that Maggie was telling you, our brands do, like, we can get hyper targeted. We can understand who you are, what you look like, what you like, what you don't like. And it allows us to connect with you on just such a different way. Do we nail it all the time? No. Do you probably remember it? No. But we are trying to do it. And I think it's part of what makes our job so exciting, because I love the moment when people are like, you're gonna, like, Maggie was talking about Doritos, like, oh, it's full, it's intense. Like, I bet if I asked you, like, your favorite brand and what you think of it, it could be so different. I used to work on Sun Chips, and literally the first thing people would tell me, they're like, that compostable bag. Have you guys ever heard about it? Yeah, the bag. And I was like, that's such a negative memory. But people are like, no, it's like hysterical. Like, I remember opening it, so loud. But for me, I'm like, oh, Sun Chips, it's wavy, it's original. Like, we're talking to ourselves. Sorry, Maggie.
I call bullshit on it.
Yeah, and so it's actually really interesting. That's why we love talking to consumers. We love talking to anybody who's not obsessed with chips that we are, because you guys see things in such a different way. So it really keeps us grounded in reality. So we spend so much time understanding what they're really looking for. And so for Lay's, right, it was understanding, like, how they use media. They are more cutting edge on tech than maybe we had expected them to be. Non-traditional marketing, I think everybody doesn't trust it. And then purpose and culture have become such a big part of it. Like consumers want brands who do more in the world. So throwaway slide. So I think the interesting thing is so places in bed, we're losing share, we're losing out to popcorn, we're losing consumers who are at that like 25 to 34 range. So what we did is we go and understand like what are they doing? Who are they? So we understood that how they use media, what they're looking for. But like, what do you do at home? So like I'm gonna ask the question. We're not gonna talk about science. Let's say you get done with this meeting, right? And you're like, I'm going home. And you're like, hey, I kind of want to unwind. What do you do? Literally anybody. I'm gonna ask each of you, like, this group is so small. Like, what do they do?
Video
You go
games.
home and you sit down on the couch, like, I just want to unwind. Like, what do you pick?
Video games.
Video games, okay.
Listen to music.
Listen to music.
Hard drive, listen to music, windows down.
There you go.
Yeah, I like to watch TV shows.
You too. Two of you pick TV. There's only 2 times I can probably get a snack in somebody's hand. But like the thing is like you thought about it, right? The need you're trying to fill is I'm trying to unwind. Everybody unwinds differently. Like that problem is so unique to you. So for me, if I go home and I'm sitting on the couch, my unwind might be wine. Your unwind might be pretzels. Your unwind might be a dip. Like it's so different based on the person. So what we really try to understand is like, what is that moment and what does that occasion look like? So when we think about it, it was this enjoy and indulge. It's, hey, I am gonna relax. I'm at home. I just want to like, I'm done with the day. Like I want to like move past it. And so it's a really interesting place because when you put yourself there, everybody kind of picks something different. So what we found was within these consumers, what they were really trying to do is they wanted to relax, but they want something satisfying. And it literally has helped me return to the relaxation, like help me help me enjoy the end of my day. And so that was like a really interesting insight. It's like, okay, the whole idea is about relax. It's about unwind. It's like this very slow, like I always talk about when you're sitting on your couch, you're relaxed when you're leaning back and eating something versus when you're like forward and eating something. Like it's a different kind of eat. So it's just little things like that, but you can pick that up on a consumer when you're talking to them, when you're listening to them, or we'll go into consumers' home and we'll be like, hey, tell us how you would enjoy the snack. So you go to the next slide. This is exactly what it is. Like you will find a plethora of things. I picked wine, but there's also tea. And for some people it's pizza, which like, I wish I could do that every day. But there were so many snack options. So then you're like, okay, you're trying to win this moment. There's so many people who are choosing so many different things. Like, how do you then take it to the next level? So what we really looked at is consumers were really trying to find something better for them. They're like, I want to unwind, but that glass of wine, that's like 200 calories. I'm like, I'm still kind of hungry. Or it's, I don't want to pick chocolate dipped pretzels, but like they're mindless. I can eat them and like they're crunchy and they're salty. So we really were able to get to what are you trying to solve for? So they want something that's a little bit better for them. They want something a little bit more updated. They don't want to feel like I'm eating just an old plain bag of Lay's, which is nothing wrong with, but they wanted to be entertained. Like, which is so interesting. Have you ever ate something and it's like, it's kind of stimulating in a very weird way, but you're like, okay, I can mindlessly do this. Like, you're like, oh, before you know it, the bag's done. So popcorn does. At least that's what it is. So that's kind of what had happened is you think about, there's all these different things that I can eat. And there's one where it's like, hey, this is it. You're eating chocolate cake and you're going to go all in, and there is nothing wrong with that. But then there was this space where popcorn started coming in and it's all around entertaining. I'm a coaster. I'm watching a movie. I can snack on something. It's not going to pull me down. It's not going to make me feel, maybe kind of bad about yourself, a little guilty about it. But it's not messy. And so now when you're able to say, like, okay, I'm looking at this moment. And when I'm in this moment, this is what consumers are really looking for. Like, I then can understand at a very deep level of what are you looking for from a benefit standpoint and what do you functionally want. So now I understand your needs. And I understand from a benefit and function, like that's how I can think about how do I now innovate in this moment. Now I have guardrails, right? Because I'm like, okay, it's got to be light, it's got to be a little bit, it can't be too messy, it's got to be something that's kind of a little playful, but it's not the star. It's something you can do while you're just watching TV or playing video games or whatever it might be. So that's how we like think from an innovation perspective. The moment is what takes center stage, right? Like it's all about you on that couch relaxing, whatever. And this is like a nice little add-on. And so the great piece is like, you think about it, they didn't want to, and this is what I mean, we get really granular. Like, what does flavor look like? What does texture start looking like? And so we get close of like, hey, it's light, it's airy, and I still want it to be crunchy, but not too bold, right? Like, I'm not trying to eat something flaming hot maybe this time. And then the one that I was so interesting to me was hand to mouth. So like, if you think about it, like, have you ever ate something and you're like, it has like lots of piece counts? We always do this hand motion. That was a thing for people because it's mindless. And so that was like a really big insight for us, is like, how do you even think about what you create? Because now if you want high hand to mouth, it's gotta be bite size, right? Like, those little bits of design based on what the consumer is looking for help us from an innovation perspective to really granular on like what we create. I don't even know what this slide is.
It's a potato.
Yeah, it was Mr. Potato. Yeah, let's go. This is when we started. I didn't make this deck, obviously. I just work on information. So then what we do is we're like, okay, I understand all of these things about the consumer. I know what they're looking for, and now we start building concepts. So now it's like, hey, I'm looking to create this unique snack. It's poppable, it's light, it's all of the things that we talked about. How do I build that into a snack? So we write multiple concepts. Like, I'll write the same concept maybe like 7 different times because I'm highlighting different benefits. Because what might be important to one of us may not resonate with the other person. But what we're looking for, because we're a brand that's so big, is I have to have broad appeal. So I have to find the thing that resonates the most. So is it bite size? Is it that it's poppable? Is it because it's light and airy? Like, so what's the right way to make sure the benefit that I'm leaning into highlights and captures the most? We tested some great products. Obviously, if you haven't tried Lay's Poppables, they're in market. They've done very well. And it's exactly what we talked about. It's light, it's airy. It was a place for us to like kind of go after popcorn without going and do popcorn. Because if you think about it, you have a favorite popcorn brand, or you have a brand of choice. Like, Lay's may not have the right to win there, but we know that there are consumers who love Lay's, who are still shopping in that set. So whenever you take those extra 2 seconds when you're walking down the salty aisle and you get to see one of these, those are the consumers who try it. And so we saw huge success on this one. Yeah, we saw huge success after we introduced it. And it was all the things that we love about Lay's, while also being able to balance the things that we were trying to find in a specific occasion in this consumer's moment. And so it was, like I said, light, crispy, yet indulgent, which I love to hear that, because people want to feel satisfied with their snack. The most heartbreaking thing I ever hear from a consumer is when they're like, yeah, I ate this, and it really didn't like solve like the itch of what I was looking for. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad. It's like when you order a meal and you're like, it wasn't that good. And so it's always really great to hear that. And it had phenomenal results, right? We talk about data. We test the heck out of everything. It has one of our best scores, and honestly, it's one of the products that we've launched and stayed in market the longest. We do a lot of innovation, and innovation is hard because we launch a lot of products and a lot of products die. And so it's really nice to see one that we focus so strong on the consumer aspect to really play out to kind of create this new moment that we knew we could capture occasions. And we talked about hand to mouth. So one of the big things. No, I want to talk about it. This is great. Sorry. Like, guys, you know when you're like, there's air in my back? Like, we don't do that on purpose. We actually have to do it to keep the chips fresh. It's like part of our process. But what's amazing is when you buy one of those like little single serve bags, for Lay's, you get about 15 ounces of chips. Like, that's a maybe like 15 chips, maybe. For a bag of poppables, like the one bag, you get almost like 28 to 35. So the trips per mouth, like from an ounce basis and just from like a product, like you're getting more product. So you're able to add value for consumers when you also think about innovation. It's not just about solving the need, but how do I make your life easier? How do I make sure I'm giving you something where inflation is happening, commodity prices are happening, like things are going up. Like, these are really great ways for us to keep our, like, continue to be a brand consumers choose. Sure. Yeah, we can start. And then when we launch things, you'll see, this is like such a we launch things, you'll see, like, we launch really big. So we love, like, my favorite thing, because I work on innovation, is when people are like, all right, which one are you putting up for Super Bowl? Because we do so many great innovations. We're like, we'll put it on Super Bowl, or we'll make sure we announce it in a really big way. We'll put it on a big TV commercial. And so it's really exciting to see when you do innovation, how do you bring it to life? Because right now it's a product that nobody knows about. And it's hard because you're also putting an extra product that everybody knows about. I'm going to put it next to Yellow Bag Lay's. I'm going to put this new brand called Popbles. And the thing is when you're spending like $3 or $4 on a bag of chips, you're like, why would I choose something new? So it's a lot about driving awareness, driving reach, and making sure the messaging gets out there. And I think one of the best things is when you do all of that great consumer work of understanding what the benefit is, you really can tie it into the campaign from a 360 lens. So every touch point, you can bring that to life. And what I love what they did on Popple, they made it really playful. They made it really light and airy. Like the whole feel of the subline kind of brings to life the total experience. And we did they did amazing things. Like not only was it one of those things where we launched, but we made sure to tie in across culture, different magazine outlets, different ways to communicate this. And you'll see this a ton. Like, you know, sometimes it'll be like I think the other day I got one sent to me. It was like Thrillist. It was like Frito-Lay launched like these amazing new products, and guess what? Frito's barbecue is back. Like we want to make sure we're getting it out on all avenues, and it's really exciting when you're on the brand side, like Maggie does, is like to see like how do you work with those partners? How do you make sure that it's coming to life the right way? And how do you make it feel really big and exciting? And yes, there is a robust pipeline. There's tons of them. I think some of them have left. Some of them may have not stayed around, but sea salt and vinegar, if anybody gets a chance.
Like cheddar's good too.
The cheddar's good too. They are really great. So yeah, that was Lay's Poppables. That's kind of what we do for all of our innovation. To have it really grounded in a consumer standpoint, and then build that proposition all the way up from like seed to shelf of like how we want to make sure it comes. I talk.
Thank you so much. I think everyone can hear me in the classroom too, but we've had a few people online really excited to see the presentation, and I'm asking around for questions, but definitely you can hear the questions in the classroom. You might want to repeat the question if there's a question in the classroom, and then they'll be able to hear it online too. But
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Anyone have any? Yeah.
So I guess I'll be first. I was just kind of curious, right? You talked about texture, you talked about all these characteristics of chips. In your database, do you have some type of scale for each one of those to compare and be like, oh, people really like crunchy chips this year? Like you have some type of index variable. I don't know if you can just list this around. Do you have like some type of way to some type of categorical variable or index for like each one of these characteristics about chips, or is it more of an afterthought? Like after we look into each chip are selling well, let's look at like the top 5 chips. Oh, they're all crunchy. So they're probably like crunchy. I was just curious like how you go about that problem.
I just want to say we could hear that question perfectly, so don't worry about repeating it.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna repeat the question back to make sure I understood it, so I can answer the question. So you're saying is, hey, the attribute of like crunchiness or different attributes of chips, do you have ways to measure that? And in measuring that, how are you able to understand like where does that fall from like a hierarchy standpoint? Like, yeah, okay. So yes, we do. So what's really awesome is we have a very robust R&D center that's at headquarters. So I'm literally an R&D everything. And so our R&D, they're like food scientists. They do everything from base development to seasoning. So we have like a whole team across the board, and we have a culinary team. We have like a ton of chefs who work with us. And so what they're able to do, we actually can do everything from matching bases to understanding what's the right flavors that deliver best on a base. So like I can tell you, like if you tell me like, hey, I really want this flavor, I can literally be able to map out which base would perform the best and give you the best overall experience on it. And then from like your crunch factor, like we literally could say like, hey, if I, for example, if I have something, have you ever had Chester's hot fries?
Yeah.
Great product. But what they're able to do is they'll be like, hey, if I take out X and put in Y, it's actually going to make it crunchier and more dense. And if I'm going to make it more dense, you should then now do the seasoning on a different kind of equipment to get the most optimal like texture and flavor experience. So like we think of them as the same thing. Like texture doesn't have to match because it's how the overall how it overall comes together when you actually do the product. But yes, We have everything from like Scoville scales on heat to different texture scales to understand like how flavor experiences work on each of those.
What I'm
They're very
hearing-
scientific. I'm not, but I spend a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I just keep hearing in that answer data, 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 data. Like everything, you have data on everything about every single product, about all the qualities and what you can change and manipulate. It just sounds awesome.
Yes, which is why we're here. There's a lot of data, and there's a lot of different ways we think about data and how we use it. Like it is I mean, you're gonna constantly hear it from us. Like we're marketers, but at the end of the day, like I think for me, and we were talking about this in our last class, like I'm a born and bred marketer. Like I did my undergrad in marketing. I've always had marketing roles. I actually came back to the University of Tennessee specifically because I wanted to actually explore more from an analytics standpoint. So I did my MBA, the split. I did MBA, I did marketing and analytics. And part of the reason why was because of the way the world is changing, like social media, like the amount of data we can pull from that. And then also personalization. We were talking about e-com, like anytime you scan a bag, like that's data for us. And so being able to understand granularity and then pull it up into an insight that can actually lead to an action and can help us change the way we think about products or marketing is really what we're trying to do. So at the base of it is like, the more you understand data, the more you're able to actually work through and understand, does this matter? Does this not matter? And at what like varying degrees are huge in understanding how you unlock growth, how you grow brands, and how you talk to people.
With a company, can I ask a question if that's all right?
Yeah, right. Of course.
Sure. And you don't have to tell any trade secrets.
Yeah.
This is like broadcast live on YouTube, so I don't want trade secrets, obviously. But with a company like Pepsi that, you know, has so many brands and is trying out so many things, and you mentioned social media, you know, you've got TikTok, you've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, you got Twitter. Those are probably big ones right there. Do they actively gauge when a new product is launched? Do they actively look at kind of impressions or mentions or sentiment analysis on products that are launched in regions? Is that a big concern for them?
A concern or sorry, can you?
Or not a concern, but how actively are they engaged at watching like sentiment mentions, kind of watching social media to understand how the product is doing?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Literally, I mean, as soon as anything launches, like think about the Super Bowl. So whenever we do a Super Bowl ad, what you'll see is like we have a war room when the Super Bowl is going on. It's not a war room for the game. It's a war room for the ad is about to drop. And we literally start monitoring pre, during, and post. Like, what are people tweeting? How is it trending? What's happening on TikTok from it? Like everything. And we're constantly seeing it because we iterate off of it very quickly. We're like, okay, like the best example I always say this is, did you guys ever see or have you heard of the Super Bowl in New Orleans? Beyonce performed, shut down the Superdome, like the lights went out. It's one of my, I mean, first for like the halftime show was my favorite, but secondly, when the power went out, Oreo dropped a spot on Twitter, and it was like dunking in the dark. Like you can dunk you can eat your Oreos anywhere. That went viral. Like everyone, like from a marketing sense, like for us, like we were just like, oh my God, that was so genius. And so the thing is like we're constantly trying to see like how do you react to what's happening in a consumer in the world from a culture, from a moment standpoint. So for us, like mining data, but also like understanding sentiment, what's happening, like it's what we're constantly doing. Like I'm sure Maggie gets it so much more than I do right now, but like when you're on brand, I mean, every morning you're going to wake up and someone's be like, someone talked about your brand, someone did this, someone did that. And so we're constantly trying to figure out what are the right places for us to play. So from a social standpoint, like now that there's so many different ways we can interact with consumers, we're constantly trying to find out which ones are the best and biggest ways where we can also drive credibility in the brand. Does that answer your question, Brian?
Oh, that's an amazing answer. I love social media analytics. I don't want to go into like what I want to do with upcoming things in the world, but I love social media analytics. It's so cool analyzing people's and trends. So yeah.
Sure. Perfect. Any other questions?
Cool. Well, one plug. So we're going to be on campus this week. So if you guys thought this was cool, or you just like want to hang out with us and get more free chips, you should come to our information session. It's tomorrow night at 5:30. It's gonna be in the student union. There's a link in here to sign up, but you can just show up. If you can't attend, but you still want to learn more, feel free to email me. And then we should have our internship posted on Handshake, or you can just go to the PepsiCo website and apply. It all goes to the PepsiCo website anyway. So if it's interesting to you, definitely check it out.
Can I give one bit of insider advice? Because I know we've talked multiple times, and thank you so much for being here. You know, a lot of students are going to be watching this after, but I know we've talked about like what students can do that really makes an impression. And I remember you saying that basically coming with like pointed questions, not just following up, but basically, you know, seeing how you would fit into the company and examining the opportunities and how they apply to you and coming with questions that are directed towards those opportunities is seen as a major plus. I don't know if you have any comments on that, on how students can make a really great first impression when they come and speak to you.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Ryan. So I think for me, especially if you're like, hey, it's my first time, like I have an intern, I haven't, done this before. I think the big things is like ask us questions. Like we love that. We want to engage, like we want to know you as a human. I think that's a huge part of it. Like candidly, like I would feel like part of the reason I stay at Pepsi for so long is like I just love everyone. Like I genuinely enjoy the people I work with. Some people like to do that, but most people
Like Maggie. No, just kidding.
So come talk to us, like we would love that. And if you're a little shy, if you're like, hey, I don't know if I'm a fit, like let's have a conversation about that. I think that's super important. I'm happy to give you the advice. And then yeah, Brian, to what you said is there's gonna be moments when it's a little bit more casual. We love to like get to know people, but then we want to make sure that you're here to like you're here to work in a sense. I gotta watch my language. But we want people who are like really excited, really eager about the role. Like we get to do a lot of cool things. We have a really great job, but also like coming to Frito, like there's expectations. Like we've done a great job building a pipeline. I'm gonna say I did a great job building a great pipeline from Tennessee. Well, because Maggie was my first, and then we kept adding. Because Maggie actually is all Maggie. And I think that we just have such a great caliber of talent. And a lot of it's been because there's passion around data, there's passion around consumer, and you guys have always brought your A game. So what Brian said, like with the time when it comes to be buttoned up, when it comes to an interview, you guys do a really great job prepping. You do a great job asking us really hard questions before so we can help you get prepped. And you guys just spend time being intentional, understanding the company, understanding the role, and like not only what you can bring, but what Pepsi and Frito-Lay kind of has to offer you from a career growth standpoint. Because our job isn't just to have you come in and do one role. Like we want you to stay with the company, we want you to kind of grow there. I've seen Maggie go from like 2 or 3 different roles, like just her evolution from when she first started to where she is now has been tremendous to see like the growth. That's what we do. We invest in our people. So I think Brian, to your point, is like, yeah, definitely come with great questions. Think about the role, think about what you have to offer, and think about where are those opportunities where it's like, hey, I can really shine here. But also, have questions, and we're happy to help. Like it's, I put myself back, it was a long time ago, put myself back into your shoes, and like I know sometimes it can feel like, how do I approach this or how do I approach that? And like we're here to help.
Well, I just want to say a huge thank you for presenting tonight. And one of the coolest things, like to all the people who watching online in the future and who are here in the classroom right now, is especially with the Haslam College of Business. So I just want to thank the Haslam College of Business for once hosting this in the room and everything. But when you're in the Haslam College of Business, there's so many opportunities. And I think this is a great opportunity that Maggie took part in. And we've had a lot of other students because, like you said, you built the pipeline and you've hired a lot from UT, right?
Yeah. So Maggie it wasn't all me. I didn't mean it that way, Maggie.
I don't take it that way.
I just had to fight for dollars to come here. No big deal. So Maggie came in, which did a phenomenal job. Katie came in right after, and there were 2 interns that are coming back and started. So Braxton and Allie. So now we have like a nice group of like 5 or 6 of us at Frito-Lay.
You can all cheer for the Vols.
Whenever people say UT, we're like, go Vols, not Texas. And it's been really nice. And so Allie and Braxton just started. They literally started like a month ago, 3 months ago. Yeah. So it's been really great to watch it. So we have had a lot of success in like interviewing and bringing on candidates from the University of Tennessee coming back. And that's why we always hit Brian up, because there's some great students in his class.
Well, no, thank you so much. And I see him on the big screen right now. So, hey to everybody in the classroom. Hey! Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool, like just seeing everyone. I don't know who, well, you don't say their names or anything, but no, I just see 1, 2. I see the people in the classroom. Yeah. I'll be seeing everyone in person again, I'm sure soon. Thank you so much for the presentation. We're going to sign off right here. I'll end the stream and I'll say goodbye. Bye for now, online people. Bye.